Thanks for joining us here on the Bill Mason Show. We have an exciting and explosive show for you tonight. Looks like the virus is exploding and
Yeah,
spreading. What do you think, Bill?
you can say that again. I think we're looking at numbers worse than anyone could have predicted, really.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I mean, it's like a horror flick coming to America slowly.
Yeah. And it's a question of where you get your information and what do you believe at this point.
Yeah, I mean, China's put their firewall up, and it looks like they're just not letting no information out.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get a hold of anything. I mean, other than, regular feeds.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of people we follow in China and
Yep.
Japan, and the Japan people are tweeting out, but the China people are kind of silent nowadays.
Yep.
So if people don't know this, China has a firewall. They don't let people uh, communicate outside of China. So just in case you guys didn't know that, a lot of our listeners do, but just in case,
Yeah.
there's a firewall in Japan or China, and they won't let news out. So we do have a video of Steve Bannon talking about that, by the way. Let's go to him right now.
Number one, the firewall must come down. It must come down. The people of China, the citizens of China, the decent, hardworking, old 100 names in China have to be able to communicate to the world. They have to get out there and tell them what their situation is. The world has to see this unfiltered by the Chinese Communist Party. And right now, there is no justification, no moral justification to have the firewall up. The firewall must come down, and any American company that's providing technology or capital or personnel to keep that firewall up is going to burn in hell, okay? Because now they are just prolonging the suffering of the Chinese people. That's number one. Number two, and I said this a couple weeks ago, the Chinese Communist Party must take the best doctors from the world, from the CDC, the World Health Organization, from the Imperial College in London, from Hong Kong University, Dr. Gabriel Leung, the top virus hunters, the best, have to be allowed to get into Wuhan and Hubei province and see and report back exactly what the problem is and what their recommendations are. Because right now we see, I think there's 5,000 doctors and nurses that are infected, okay? The new crisis you have is a collapse of the public health system in the central province and in Wuhan city. If that collapses, you can have tens of millions of people die. And that is something the CCP can avoid by taking nurses and doctors from all over the world and let them go to those central things. Until the government does that, to me, it's showing that two things. Number one, they don't care about the Chinese people. They don't care how many people die. And number two, they don't care about people throughout the world. What they care about is what they've always cared about, and that is their hold on power and their hold on wealth.
China says the coronavirus epidemic is coming down. But is it really so? Steve K. Bannon, host of War Room Pandemic, sat down with me to discuss the most critical aspects of this pandemic. What's the truth in China? Why did the Chinese government still refuse to let American experts in? Could the virus be made in a lab? Why does the Chinese leadership rush biosafety legislation? Could America see generic drug shortages if the epidemic prolongs?
Well, there we have it. So Steve Bannon, so this show is going to be virus tonight. I mean, there's a lot going on. CDC just came out saying this is going to be here. It's not if, but when it's going to be a pandemic here. They said Americans should prepare for significant disruptions to their lives from
Yeah.
the coronavirus.
Yeah,
CDC.
they're expecting local transmission, which, it doesn't sound scary until you realize what that means. That means you will most likely know someone, who
Mhm.
gets it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's over the world, and we have a map here showing what's going on in the world. Of course, this is not really showing what's going on in the world because China is not giving us the right numbers.
Right, right.
We have 2,708 deaths.
No way, man.
So there's no way. We've been
Right.
talking about this for weeks. We're looking at now between 100,000, maybe even up to 400,000 people dead.
At least.
Yes. They had 18 crematoriums going on at the same time. Two broke because
Yeah.
it was going on so much. Um, they can't keep up with the dead bodies going through the crematorium.
Nope. Their guys are physically exhausted from lifting bodies, and they get no breaks. They're working 24-hour shifts, burning bodies. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, so these numbers are not correct. I mean, it's far off. They stopped really releasing numbers. Really, I mean, it's kind of slowed down a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
they're in total isolation over there.
yeah, and Italy has jumped significantly. Iran has jumped significantly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's South America cases that are confirmed now. So
Yep, in Brazil, 2 cases in Brazil. We got
Yeah.
Iran. This is like a little blob right there in the Middle East. That's Iran. Iran's getting ate up by it.
yeah,
Italy is just ravaged by it. So it's not looking good. So speaking of Italy, let's take a look. There's a video showing empty shelves in Italy. Let's take a look.
only imagine, man.
People looking for food and cannot find it.
Nothing.
Nothing. So that's Milan, by the way, and that was not a store in construction. That was a store that normally has a lot of food.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, densely populated areas. As soon as the panic mode sets in, all of that stuff is just going to get swiped off the shelves. And there's usually in a densely populated area, there's only 2 days worth of food, so it's pretty dicey.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, we played last week where they drug out the bodies in China out the front door, left them there covered. They're supposed to get picked up. The guy who did this video was arrested, by the way. So
Yeah, for leaking it. Yeah.
Yes. So let's take a look at this video. There you go. All those bodies on the side of the street.
Garbage day.
Yep. Pretty bad. So, what do you think, Bill? I mean, CDC announced an emergency today. San Francisco announced an emergency. They don't have a case there at all yet. What's your thoughts?
I'm a little nervous because I watched the HHS press release that was, don't worry, everything's under control. Keep washing your hands. Regular sanitization to keep you safe. And I'm hoping that's the case, honestly. I mean, you see behind me what I got hanging on the wall, just in case I got to go to Acme or something and get some food. So I'm throwing that on.
I like the stuff in the back of the wall. I know we were prepared here at the Bill Mason Show. That's good. So as far as the Homeland Security, we're going to play that video of them going back and forth, and I'm afraid we're in trouble based on this back and forth with Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Watch this.
Do we have enough respirators?
To my knowledge, we do. I'm focused on making sure that our operators at DHS make sure that they have the protective equipment. I know HHS, as part of the supplemental.
Well, we just heard testimony that we don't
Testimony from,
in a briefing.
okay.
So you're head of Homeland
For medical professionals or for sorry, I
You're
don't
head of
understand the
Homeland
question.
Security. Do we have enough respirators or not?
For patients, I don't understand the question.
For everybody, every American who needs one who gets the disease.
I don't understand your question.
Again, I would refer you to HHS on that.
Mr. Secretary,
My
you're-
budget
you're
supports.
supposed to keep us safe.
My budget supports the men and women
You're
of
the
the Department of Homeland
Secretary of
Security.
Homeland Security,
Yes, sir.
and you can't tell me if we have enough respirators.
What I would tell you is that the budget, my budget, our operations are focused not only on the men and women of DHS, making sure they're protected to do their jobs, to screen individuals coming in. We're working with HHS,
You don't know.
CDC, and their
You don't know the
budgets
answer, do you?
to ensure that they have enough medical
Do
equipment.
we have enough face masks?
We, for the Department of Homeland Security, we
I'm
do.
not asking for the Department of Homeland Security.
Are you looking-
I'm asking for the American people.
For the entire American public?
Yes.
No, I would say probably not.
Okay, how short are we?
I don't have that number offhand, Senator. I will
Yeah, like millions.
Okay, but I want to be sure I understand. Somebody
Yes, sir.
is doing modeling
Yes, sir.
on how many cases we're anticipating. You're
Yes, sir.
just not aware of them.
You're asking me a number of medical questions that
I'm asking you
CDC
questions
and
because you're
HHS
Secretary of
are
the
focusing
Department
on.
of Homeland Security, and you're supposed to keep us safe.
Yes, sir.
And you need to know the answers to these questions.
And
How far away are we from getting a vaccine?
in several months.
Well, that's not what we just heard testimony about.
Okay.
Who's on first here?
HHS is
What's
the
on
lead
second?
federal agency for the coronavirus response.
You're telling me we're months away from having a vaccine. That's your testimony as Secretary of Homeland Security.
What I have been told by HHS and CDC, yes.
And have you probed that to make sure that's accurate?
Yes. We continue, every day we have task force meetings with those individuals and elsewhere talking about a number of these
Well, your
issues.
numbers aren't the same as CDC's.
Then I would certainly defer to CDC on our medical questions.
Well, don't you think you ought to contact them and find out whether you're right or they're right?
We're in contact with them every day on our task force.
But you don't know why
planning
you have a
for 'em.
discrepancy.
I would refer you to the CDC on
Mr.
specific
Secretary,
questions.
I'm going to hush here. You're supposed to keep us safe, and the American people
Senator-
deserve some straight answers on the coronavirus. And
Senator,
I'm not getting them from you.
I
That's
disagree.
all I have, Madam Chair.
All right, so that's it. So, are we in trouble or what?
Honestly, I kind of feel bad for that guy because realistically, he's getting bombarded with, do we have, enough masks for every man, woman, and child and all that stuff. There's no way he could physically know that. The problem is the supply chain, from what I know about the logistics industry is once people start to get sick and people don't go to work, the guys who drive the trucks, the guys who unload at the docks and all of that stuff are affected. So whether we have a billion masks, it's do we have the manpower to keep moving it that's healthy?
Right.
Because without that, nothing moves. Yeah.
Well, that should be one of the first questions he would ask anybody is how many masks we have.
Yeah.
The answer is no. He doesn't have enough masks for everybody.
No. There's honestly no way that they could even know. They could know their own inventory, maybe, but I don't think they could know how much 3M. Oh, and that's another thing that's weird. Not to go off track. Some of the CEOs of 3M are selling their shares.
Really?
Yeah, I just got a stock indicator report that they're selling like 40 to 50% of their shares. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah, they're selling it before the crash happens.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, the crash has started,
Yeah.
So stock market went down, a couple thousand points almost in
Yeah.
the last couple of days.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot. So, we heard from Homeland Security, Acting Security Secretary, that's supposed to protect us. I don't feel too comfortable for him. So, but let's go back to China. Let's go back to the map. So here we are, the map. Here's China right here,
Yeah.
and then Wuhan is right there in the center, pretty much.
Yeah, you can barely see China.
Right. But we have people screaming at night, trying to get out of quarantine, screaming because they're stuck in their condos.
They've been stuck in there for it's been over a month now, really, if you think about it.
It has, yes.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that and see what that's all about.
我们小区这些人忍不住了，来听一下，在狂吼，不知道在吼啥，这一个片区都吼起来了，想出去啊。
All right. So they are screaming at night, trying to pass the time, I guess.
I can't imagine what it's like to be a kid in that situation, because you know how when you have adults that are just screaming and ready to jump out the window, the adults are trying to keep everything like everything's going to be okay. And then, man, if you're like, a young kid in that situation, you got to be like, wow, this is worse than I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not good. I would hate to be a kid in that area too.
Yeah, it's the worst. And I mean, watching your parents lose total control of themselves in front of you has got to be awful.
Right. So we have empty shelves in Italy. We have the Wuhan people screaming at night, trying to figure out what's going on. And then we have United States CDC probably lying to us because there are thousands of people who are quarantined right now in the United States.
Yeah. And there's various leaks of tweets where there's CDC people saying that this is more serious, don't cause a panic, blah blah blah. And I mean, I get part of that because it's like yelling fire in a theater.
Right.
But I think if the average person doesn't realize they might need 14 to 30 days worth of food and water, if they do decide to close down your city or whatever, and you don't have it, you're going to be shit out of luck.
Right, definitely. So we do have another video of Iran talking about how many people are dead in the city. So let's take a look at what's going on in Iran. Here we go.
نگاه کنید که انگار هیچ اتفاق نیفتاده. روزانه 10 نفر دارن میمیرن. دیشب آخرین آماری که من داشتم زیر 50 نفر بود. بله. بله. نه الان این قصه مال 2 هفته است. دیرم اعلام کردم متاسفانه. بیش از 250 نفر الان در قرنطینه.
All right, where if you read it or not, they're saying 10 people a day are dying, 50 people total has passed away.
I can only imagine it's going to get worse in places like Iran, where even if they're quarantining in-house, the access to medical treatment, that's what makes the death tolls go so high. Because one thing about just the regular flu is if you're not getting fluids, okay, like you're not going to get an IV. Like when they lock you in your house and tell you you're quarantined until you get better or somebody dies, that's a death sentence. And the numbers are just going to scream through the roof if it continues like this. I mean, some of these countries are just unprepared. 250 people, most people don't realize the size of a regular hospital in your city usually only has 200 beds total in the whole hospital. That's like on average. A big hospital's 500. So this could explode to numbers that you've never even imagined, where you can't use the hospital for regular injuries or something like that.
Well, of course. I mean, the hospitals get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then you can't go see them for normal treatment because everybody is in the hospital because of the virus.
And there's already an issue in Italy with meds. So people that are on regular pharmacy meds, they have something called a Pyxis or something like that that's being overwhelmed. People are running out to doctors and getting prescription for Tamiflu, it's called. So they're trying to just get Tamiflu to have it on hand, and their pharmacies are overwhelmed. They don't even have it. They can't keep these things in stock, along with their regular medicine, people on insulin and all the other things. So it's really taxing every aspect of the medical business.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, what happens is the virus engulfs the whole globe.
Yeah.
And then everybody shuts down, and then a collapse of the economy of the whole world. And then it shuts down.
We talked about it 2 shows ago, where China's a main producer of antibiotics. Like 80% of our antibiotics come from China. If they're not working making those pills, then guess what? There's not going to be regular antibiotics, and there probably won't be stuff as simple as aspirin, and Tylenol. They make all that stuff there. I mean, it's a trickle down effect that we'll feel months after this is even over.
Right. I mean, you'll start seeing cruise lines go under. Airlines going there because no one's going to fly, no one's going to go on a cruise.
Yeah, who's gonna go on a cruise ship in the next 6 months? Probably no one.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Now after the princess, when
Right.
a lot of their people were had the virus, so there's no way.
Right. So I mean, if I don't even know how they save their business at this point. And those ships are worth $1 billion. Some of them. I mean, it's a massive hit.
It is. So we have the virus. China is epicenter. We have it's exploding in South Korea, exploding in Iran. Now it's ravaging, going in Europe, and we're next, I assume. So we do have a video of South Korea. There's a line of face mask people right getting in line to try to get a face mask. So here, go watch this. There you have it.
I don't know. That seems counterintuitive to me because those people are standing awfully close to each other.
They're supposed to be 4 to 6 feet.
Yeah, that's some. I saw a few gaps, but there's definitely not 6 feet in between those people, man.
Well,
so
if you go 4 to 6 feet, somebody might go in front of you.
Yeah, they're worried about not getting a mask, but I mean, if somebody's got I don't know, man. That's just me being me, I guess. I hate people, so.
But Paul, on top of that, you can stand in line to get the mask and you'll get the virus.
And then you catch the virus while you're waiting for the mask. So I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I would rather spend 8 days in a closet.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. Maybe they should have a mask before.
Yeah, I'd rather the government say, hey, we're going to airdrop them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to use the military and we're going to airdrop pallets to these locations and just, whatever. I would much rather have that situation than wait in line like that and, stand on top of each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do have, speaking of test kits, you see?
Yeah.
We have a picture of the test kit here in the United States, by the way. The CDC.
The official.
Yes, the official CDC test kit. Here we go. What's this?
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. That's the one. That's if you don't have that, it's like going to the dollar store and getting a pregnancy test. You don't know what you're getting.
Right. I wonder how much this test costs.
I can't imagine, honestly.
What's it going to cost?
I can't imagine what it costs to run each test because just a basic genome test is hundreds of dollars. So
who's paying for it? Is the insurance company paying for it? Or CDC
I don't
paying
think
for
so.
it? No, I don't think so either.
I think the taxpayers are eating this one.
Well, I hope we're eating something. Hopefully, it'll help us.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd rather know early. So,
right.
I mean, if it was something like I had flu-like conditions, I would rather see somebody walk in with that kit than to say, oh, we're not really sure. We're just going to wait it out.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, wow. I mean, I hate to go to this video because, I mean, this is where in China, where somebody is having a haircut. And so let's take a look at that. So
I know you still got to get your haircut.
You still got to do it. So let's watch that. Pretty good, actually.
Yeah, he's like 3 feet away, and he's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
我们小区这些人忍不住了。
No, it's the screamers again.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. That guy was 3 feet away, and he was doing a nice job. So, I mean, I guess it's worth it not to catch the virus and still cut people's hair. So.
Yeah, he did a great job. He must be professional. And
definitely. He's got to be. And you know what? that's the thing that it speaks volumes about some of the people in Korea. They are not letting it stop them. They're still going out and doing their daily things because they haven't got the order to where you can't go to work or whatever. It's kind of like take all the precautions you can, and people are still, manning the food stores, which is a good thing, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is a good thing. I mean, hopefully they'll contain it, and we'll have a vaccine, and the world is saved.
Yeah,
That's the hope.
minus 60 million
Right.
or so.
Well, if you do the math, they're saying that 60 to 70% of the population will get the virus. What is
Yeah.
that? You do that with the 7 billion people.
Well, 7 billion, so 50% would be 3.5 billion, and
Yeah.
it's got like they're saying the death rate right now is 2 point something, but the actual rate is 5.5. They said so.
Right.
That's about 60 million.
That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just think about 60 to 100 million people dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I know we're probably approaching in China at least 400,000.
Yeah, there's no way you can burn bodies for 24 hours a day for a month and be at the numbers that they're producing 2,000 something. That's a
Yeah, I
joke.
mean, we've seen 2,000 on the street.
Yep, at least.
Yeah. So on a brighter note, we do have Trump in India, by the way.
Yeah, how about that? He packed that stadium, man.
He did 110,000 people.
Yeah, he has no problem doing that.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at that. Let's do some brighter nights here. So get some good feel here. Let's watch this. There we go. That's a lot of people.
That is.
Very good.
You know what immediately made me nervous though? That Indian guy went out and like gave Trump like a big old hug and like a smooch on the cheek. I'm thinking like, what if he had the virus? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. What about the 110,000 people were there that had the virus?
Yeah, man. That's I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about.
I was talking to somebody or dad said he's going to India right now when the virus is exploding.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't want nothing to happen to him.
Can't afford it.
No, we can't. So, do you have any last remarks before we sign off?
There's so much going on. I wish. I mean, the virus is taking up so much. The Democratic debate is being literally overshined right now by people worried about this. So nobody's watching Democrats tear each other to shreds anymore.
No.
And the other thing that's going on behind the scenes that I think I'm going to have to do a lot of research on and a whole show on is 8 more states have now band together to stop any form of federal firearm confiscation. They're basically exercising states' rights and nullifying any federal act that would make them go door to door and confiscate any weapons. And it's Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and I'm sure Florida is going to jump in there. Like there is 8 states right now definite. It's probably going to go up to 14 or 15 where they're going to nullify any attempt at going door to door and confiscating AR-15s.
Well, good. Good, they should.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. So, so we need to protect our Second Amendment. Of course, as you said, the Democrats are on stage tonight. No one cares.
No one.
The virus is overshadowing their debate, and there's no one really to watch anyway.
No, they don't. There's no shining light that you're like, I can't wait to miss Bloomberg's comments. I mean, he's just blowing himself to smithereens every time he talks.
Right. All right. Well, it's been a nice show tonight. We'll play again on Thursday, unless the virus explodes for tomorrow. We might do an emergency broadcast, but it's all going to be virus and political news going forward until the virus dies down. So please subscribe, and you have a wonderful night.
Yep. Take care.